Hi there, this is Jay Jacobs, and welcome to another episode of Going Beyond the Scale. If you've been watching any of our podcasts or us on YouTube, you know that sometimes I will do a whole long intro about somebody that's our guest. Today, I decided not to because I think it's going to be more interesting for you to hear her personal journey, what I'm kind of calling today an amazing tale of her scale. And I will tell you that there's a lot of people that know, even though she said they don't, I know there's a lot of people that know who she is because of her story and what she's doing every day to really help other people create whatever their story is. So, Elaine, let's bring on Elaine. So, Elaine Hartrick, thank you so much for being here. And also thank you for your patience when we had this long chat and I got so excited about it. And I sent you an email and then it never went on my outbox. And like months later, I finally was like, oh my God, what the hell happened? So thank you for being here.
No, absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
So as I said, I know when I posted just a little while ago that you were going to be here, there's people that I know that are out there like, oh my God, I know Elaine, but I want to watch this. And then there's going to be people after this is live, they're going to go like, I know her, and they're going to want to hear your story. I don't know how many people really know your backstory completely because, and you'll reveal this in what you do now. There's a lot of people that know you in your position that helps lots of people. And I don't know you well enough to know, are you one of those kind of people that's a big sharer? Maybe you are, I don't know, but we're going to find all that out today. So I also want people to know this is part one. Because I asked you, please share your story because I know it will be inspiring and helpful to many people. And then we're going to come back at a separate time with a part two after you reveal what you do, because I want to be able to have you share more about what it is you do, where you do it, and with the people that you are helping to transform. So with that being said, the very first question I'm going to ask you, and then you're just going to kind of go on from there, is I would just like you to think about, when I talk about the tale of your scale, most of us that have been challenged with our weight or well-being have been on a roller coaster back and forth, back and forth. And one of the things I've learned over the years for myself and for many people that I work with, there are early stage issues, thoughts, beliefs, whatever stories that have happened the first time you either stepped on a scale, were told that you needed to step on a scale, joined a group, whatever. Do you remember like what was that earliest time when you actually had a relationship or you started this path of like thinking about your weight with a scale, probably obviously bathroom scale at that time, maybe doctor scale?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a great question. I actually don't think I've ever been asked that. And I will answer one question. I am an oversharer, so I'll try to keep myself. I'll try to not overshare.
Okay, I'll just let it rip. Let it rip.
Yeah, that's a great question. I probably started weighing myself when I was maybe 15 or 16, and realized that hey, that's a thing. You know, you got to sort of watch your weight and then sort of went into this mindset of, is that the right weight for my height? Am I thin enough? You know, I think a lot of girls go through that. Unfortunately, I think a lot of girls go through that much younger now than when I was that age. But yeah, that was probably when. And I probably had nothing to lose, maybe 5 pounds or 8 pounds or something. You know, at 16. I mean, I was high school, played high school sports and a variety of things, and I went on my first diet, you know, so that was the first mistake, but you know, it is what it is. That's what you do when you're that old. I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, well, I heard this grapefruit diet, and you know, I think that was my first one, and then Scarsdale, and then on all those things, but I really didn't probably have weight to lose. You know, I was just maybe not as fit as I could have been, but yeah, I really didn't start to struggle in a big way with my weight until I was well into adulthood and started going through some sort of traumatic experiences. I mean, I've got 2 children, and I gained a significant amount of weight during my pregnancies, but lost a good portion of it. And I mean, always sort of from that 16-year-old self on a diet to when I sort of went into another sphere of weight gain, you know, I sort of was on a diet or wanting to lose that 10 or 15 or 20 pounds. But nothing crazy until later. So.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that, and you're not the same age as I am, I'm much older than you, but I think a lot of us that were from a little bit a while ago, I think it's most people, it seems to be that kind of teenage time. And unfortunately, like what you said, I'm finding that a lot of that is much younger now. Unfortunately, it's really unfortunate, so, and I think that's another reason why it's helpful for any of us that have experienced that to kind of share what we had experienced so that maybe we can help, and not only just individuals, but I also think parents. I think one of the things when I was with Dr. Huizenga recently out in LA, his big push, the doctor from Biggest Loser, was he said, we just need to get people, young moms, before they go too wild early on, for all of us to kind of understand it. So, but thanks for sharing that. I was just curious. Sometimes people go like, oh my God, I was like 5 years old, and you never know. So it's always helpful for people to kind of understand that what's most secret, most common is not that unusual. We all have had some mindset or something that kind of triggered that. But so once you did that, now we know you were athletic. So, okay, there was a case you're athletic, you're doing things or whatever. So you kind of sounds like you had a pretty good foundation in terms of your sense of athleticism and ability and whatever. So when you started to go from that, what was it that kind of had you kind of maybe go off the rail from where you were? Sounded like you're a pretty healthy state at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely not a picture of health. I mean, it was, oh yeah, I should worry about this, but I mean, I wasn't. I played sports and things, but it wasn't anything crazy. I wasn't like a college athlete or anything, but some awareness of it anyhow. And then I got married quite young, and had 2 children, and unfortunately, just went through some really challenging experiences in my personal life, in my marriage. Ended up being a victim of domestic violence, and really struggled to try and help this person and save this person. And I had confidence, I had self-esteem. I didn't see myself as somebody that was sort of deserving or worthy of that. Definitely took on the role of, okay, this is a very broken person with a sort of checkered past, and I need to save this person. And so stayed in that relationship far, far, far too long, and became really focused on him and raising my children, and trying to make sure my children had sort of no exposure to that, which I was able to do successfully. And so they were never really aware what was going on, but really then tried to be strong for a very long time, and just put myself at the bottom of the list, and then struggled with depression, and food became my drug of choice. I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I don't do sort of anything like that, prescription drug, nothing, all of the wonderful things we can go to, gambling, and all the wonderful sort of drugs of choice when we're trying to cope with pain, because that's really what it is, right? I mean, we're trying to cope with pain, and it's a maladaptive way of coping with pain, is turning to something. And so, food was my thing. And so, yeah, over a relatively short period of time, I sort of ate my way through that pain, and gained about 135 pounds in short order, about 3 years. So,
did you do that secretly? Like, I was a big secret eater. Did you do that secretly, where people didn't really know what you were up to, but they're kind of going like, she's putting on some weight here, what's going on?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I don't, is anybody not secretive about that? I think anybody that's in that kind of state, right? Yeah, I think anybody that's in that sort of state when it comes to food and eating and being out of control, there's so much secretive. It's so secretive because so much shame. Like, there's so much shame with that. So for sure, I mean, I'm just like so many other people that have struggled with using food as a way to cope, or as a drug. You eat in your car, you eat late at night, you're eating all the time, right? You're eating all the time. So
no, so you, in a short order, okay, so it's one of those things that some people can't put weight on, but any of us that for whatever reason have this metabolic ability to do it, like, you somehow stopped at 130, but when you can put on 100 pounds, you can do the two. You could do three. I mean, people can. So what was that inciting incident that you're like, okay, I'm like, was there something that stopped you from that?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't stopping. I mean, I wasn't going, oh, okay, 135 pounds, that's my limit. I mean, I wasn't stopping. I was just waking up every day. I'd finally got myself out of the marriage, and my life was sort of unrecognizable, and my kids were having some issues. And I woke up one day, and nothing about how I saw myself or my values and how I felt about my I guess who I am was not in alignment with how I looked, how I felt. There was, I wasn't sort of living my authentic self, to use a word that we talk about a lot right now. And so I just said, enough, I can't do this anymore. And so I came home from work, and I mean, I had still wonderful supportive family, and I had a good job, and I had a nice home. But I came home from work one day, looked around my home, and thought, "Hey, I'm paying for this mortgage. I'm going to work, and is this what's important? Is this what's important? Like, what am I doing? There's a giant gap here between how I'm living and who I am and who I knew myself to be." And so I thought, what am I going to do in order to close that gap? So I listed my house, and as soon as my house sold, I walked in and resigned my position at work, and got in my car and drove to Movara Fitness Resort, which is in southern Utah. I had Googled it. I was just looking for places that were able to help me with where I was. I needed sort of healing, not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, after I was in that marriage for 23 years. So it was a very long time,
wow.
a very, very, very difficult experience, and really looking after everything and everyone but me. And at the time, Movara in southern Utah was a Biggest Loser resort. And so I arrived here, and I walked in, and I thought, okay, I'm going to use the equity in my home to stay here as long as I need to stay in order to get back in alignment with who I am and close that gap. And so I arrived, and I was here about 3 days, and thought, this is all I need. This is the place I need to be in order to do what I need to do. Because initially I had thought, well, maybe I'll come to southern Utah for a little while. There was another resort in Malibu, California at the time. There were a variety of competitors, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just hop around. And I got here and thought, this is all I need. This is exactly what I was looking for. So I thought, I'm just going to stay here as long as I need to stay in order to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And I didn't have a particular period of time or weight number necessarily. I just thought, I'm going to stay here until I feel like I've accomplished what I need to accomplish. And so I ended up staying 9 months, which I'm actually the longest guest that's ever stayed in the history of the resort, of Movara. And what that entailed was every single day, 6 to 8 hours of working out. And that was a 3-hour hike in the southern Utah Red Rocks every single day. And then the rest of the day were spent doing cardio classes. And I did it 6 days a week for about 9 months. So it was 30 plus weeks. It was life-changing. And when I left, I was in the best shape of my life. I mean, it's not not dissimilar to what an Olympic athlete would do when you're spending 6, 7, 8 hours a day working out. You can imagine. I mean, even doing that for 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to see a huge improvement. Well, I did it every day for months and months and months. And so, yeah, I was in amazing shape, and it sort of set changed the trajectory of my life, and sort of set me on a path that allowed me to do some really interesting things as a result of that. And yeah, really just changed the course of my life. It was the best decision I could have made. And yeah, I spent all the money on the equity in my house, and was it worth it? 100%. I mean, I do it every day again, and twice on Sundays if I had the opportunity, if I needed to do it again. So.
What's fascinating about that story is that there's a lot of things you could unpack. I mean, there's a lot you could unpack because the story of what you were going through in terms of your relationship, and I work with a lot of women, have a lot of conversations, and one of the challenges that I've seen, and it sounds as if you've been able to do that, and I'm sure you're able to help other women tap into it, is I find that when women, a lot of times, they're very smart, they're successful, they're strong, they are like these rocks of making things happen, even in spite of what's going on, and yet they have a hard time actually owning their success or feeling good about what they're doing. And I can't tell you how many times I have these conversations well, it usually ends up being it's an only, like, no, or they dismiss it. And so what's fascinating, and I know you're kind of just giving the highlights of it, but that whole thing you did in general is gigantic anyway, going through relationship and separating and doing all that stuff. And then for you to actually sell the house and go and do that and then stick with it for you said the longest person there. You may be in the 1% of people in resorts that are well-being resorts that have stayed at that level. The other part that's to me interesting is, and we'll get to the other part of what you're doing there, but as you know, there are people that make a transformation and then they go back to the environment where they came from without changing any of that. So for yourself, you made that transformation, then you left. Did you have a period of time where you struggled with going backwards into what you were doing before it all, or was it not that case?
Yeah, no, great question. Oh, for sure. I mean, again, when you develop habits of how to cope with emotion, because we still have bad days. I mean, even though my life has improved significantly, have bad days. And so do you cope through food? For sure. You need to change what caused you to choose food as an outlet. And so, because life's still not perfect ever for any of us, even if it's 99%. So I did go back to like once I left here, I was pretty good. I probably stayed within 10 pounds, but I mean, I was well aware of the statistics of, hey, people that are morbidly obese, they gain all of their weight back plus more. And, the less than 2% can keep it off. And I mean, I knew. And so I thought, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be that statistic. But sure enough, life happens. And so I probably gained back 40 pounds, probably 2 or 3 times, probably 30 pounds 2 or 3 times, probably 20 pounds 2 or 3 times. I'm probably up 15 right now. But you know what, Jay, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still in the win column. Like I still consider that a win because I did not gain all my weight back plus more, or even 75% of my weight. I was able to still learn. And every single time, one of the things that came from it is every single time I gained some of my weight back, whether it was 20 or 30 or 40, I learned more about myself and what was causing that. And so the next time, so I would lose it. And then the next time I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. Do I still struggle? Absolutely. I mean, I'm still working on it constantly, but I've got 15 pounds I'd like to lose. So I lost 100 pounds here. And it's, again, it was life changing, but yeah, it's not been easy. I actually graph my weight and it looks like a Richter scale. I mean, it's up and down constantly. Right. So, and I can name experiences at the top of the peaks on every single part of my graph. So yeah, it's just life. So.
Somebody said to me one time, which I think is really a great way to look at it. I mean, and that's our weight, that's scale, that's our body composition. That's how life goes. But here's the great part. If you want to think about it, for somebody's like, oh, they think that there's going to be some perfection. I'm going to get somewhere. I'm going to stay there, blah, blah, whatever that is, which is not the way it works no matter who you are. I have not met anybody that's like that. Because here's the other thing. If you're in the hospital, you want your heart to do this. If you're doing this and you flatline, you're done. So the idea for people to think that they're going to flatline, they're going to get to somewhere and they're going to do that. What do you guys have where you're at? You guys are in the place where you get better, not because you're flatlining and running around hiking, staying there. You are going up, you're going down. So I think that's I'm glad you shared that, because back to when we talked about secret eating, anybody that thinks that they are somehow protecting themselves and their image by not letting people understand, like, yeah, this is an issue. Sometimes people have it seasonally, sometimes they have it relationship wise. I'm always looking for people, and I'm curious about this for you. Like, I love food. I'm a good cook. I love great things. I will eat anything. And yet I don't have the same appetite I did when I was like over 400 pounds. I don't know how I ate that much stuff. I don't have the same appetite, but I'm not going through the rest of my life going like, I'm never eating pizza. I'm never eating a cake or what. Like, so it sounds like you're kind of in the same spot where you're enjoying your life. It's going to be up and down there. And the other thing I'm going to insert here too, because I did pick this up from Huizenga. He said, and it's not a new secret, a lot of the Biggest Loser contestants go home. We all go home, and you go back in the same environment. And I know sometimes people PO because they didn't have quote unquote support. Okay, I get that, whatever. I mean, such is life for everybody in their world, wherever they live. But what Huizenga said when they did the studies, he said the people that actually, even if they gained their weight back, even if they gained all their weight back, the ones that actually kept exercising and kept moving, even with gaining the weight, were the ones that significantly were healthier. So I'm not an advocate for saying just eat like a maniac and gain all your weight back and just move around. It's better if you can find a balance. But I know this is what you guys are up to there. You're getting people to understand what's not really up for going forward is not doing anything and sitting around. Because even if you're not quote unquote overweight, that's just not going to work well. So what's your thoughts in terms of like you with food or exercise now? And we get that up and down. You're a human being. It's great. And it's good you share that. But like, what's your life like? I mean, I'm guessing you love food and you still probably love exercise.
I wouldn't say I love exercise.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but I do love food. So I need to love exercise. But I don't actually. I don't need to love exercise. I do.
No.
I mean, I do like to eat, but I think we need to find a place where, moving our body is what is critical. I mean, just moving our body and doing something that we enjoy, that we're going to continue to do. And so, there's obviously tons and tons of conversation about, what's the best workout, what's the best, it's the one that you'll do. Right. And
of course. Yep.
I mean, I know myself, I'm not going to spend hours in the gym lifting weights. It's not my thing, but I like group exercise and I like hiking. And I like some racket sports. So I try and intersperse those things in my life that keeps my body moving. So as you know well, it's 80-20 though. It's really 80% what's on your fork. Right. And so,
without a doubt. Right.
And that's one thing that's been a huge transition for me is I used to sort of punish myself with exercise because of how I ate. Yeah. And I've only recently sort of transitioned out of that, where I want to move my body because I like how I feel when my body is moving. I like how I feel when I'm fit. I like how how my clothes feel when I'm fit. It's good for my cardiovascular, what's going on inside. And not because I need to lose weight, or not because I need to maintain my weight, or not because of my weight. Right. And so I've just now disconnected the two. And it's been a huge eye-opening experience for me. It's something that Movara teaches as well. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you talked about things that you learn and gaining weight and each time and whatever, I'm going to retract the word exercise, because that is a very triggering word. And I'm glad you said that, because I would agree with you. I tend to use exercise as a term sometimes, just like an old analog default you do. But I would agree with you. It's going to be the thing that you're going to be willing to do, and it's going to be the thing that's movement. So I agree with you. There's a great book called The Joy of Movement. I'm more in a conversation about the movement part. There's quote unquote exercise things that I like, but I've done CrossFit. I've done all the crazy boot campy things. What I got to tell you what, I don't love that stuff. I mean, I really don't. I do like cycling. I like Peloton. I like certain things like that. But I'm kind of like you. I do like if I was where you are, like I would be outside morning, noon, and night because it's friggin'
Mhm.
gorgeous. I mean, so I
Mhm.
love adventure and hiking and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to retract that. And for all the people who are triggered by the word exercise, I would agree with you. It's not, you don't have to do that, but it is a problem. I mean, people freak out like, I can't exercise all the time. Well, you can get off your butt and walk somewhere. It's still better than nothing, you know? So,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I'm,
Well, there's all
I'm,
the, we can be politically correct about I mean, we can talk about it as nutrition and movement versus diet and
Mhm.
exercise.
Yeah.
It is all what it is. It's the same, but whatever words might be triggering for people, so we talk about nutrition and movement here, but
Yeah.
it is diet and exercise.
So since now, before we I'm going to move on a smidge, okay?
Mm,
But before we do, I'm going to come back to the other thing that I want to talk about, the working title of something you're doing, but we'll get to that at the end. But before we do that, on your personal story, is there anything else that you think would be helpful that you wanted to share at this point in time before we kind of move on to this other thing I want to talk about? Anything from what you've experienced or where you're at? Or the other part that I would say is, how are your kids with who you are being now and what's going on? How has that been for them? Has it been helpful for them to see you be the mom that you become for yourself personally? What's that like for them?
yeah, that's also a great question. I'm actually glad you asked this because we were talking about. I was 16, I got on the scale for the first time and my mom's, hey, how about this grapefruit diet or how about this, those kinds of things. And she didn't know any better. Like, I mean, I have an amazing mother.
Sure.
But my daughter, I've got a daughter who's 22 and, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and she's very slim and quite fit,
Mm-hmm.
moves with her body. But couple of years ago, she was working at a job that had her more sedentary, and she's a college student as well. And that was the big thing, was being in college. And she had put on maybe 7 or 8 pounds, so her pants were a little bit tight. And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to go on a diet." And I just about lost my mind. So I'm like, "Oh, please, Paris, I beg of you, if you remember nothing from all of the years of being about, just don't go on a diet." And
Mm-hmm.
well, why? Like, you go on diets and people go on diets, and of course talked about all the things that she sees on social media, and so the advice I gave her, which is the wish I had this knowledge when I was her age. I just asked her. I said, "I want you to go get yourself a pair of jeans, a pair of jeans that has no lycra in it, no stretch in it, and I want you to put those jeans on. And once a week, I want you to make sure you wear those jeans. And if you find that your jeans are starting to feel a little bit tight, then move your body more that week. Watch your portion size for that week. Perhaps, only have a dessert or something sweet on the weekend. And because you still need to live. And I want you to do that for several weeks until your jeans fit again. And then just use the jeans test. Just use the jeans test. And once a week, make sure you put that pair of jeans on. And that's the barometer. Don't stand on the scale. Don't, and that's what she did. And oh my gosh. Yeah, that's for these young girls. They see so many images of all these things that they can do to have the perfect body, so to speak. And yet we all come in different shapes and sizes. And my daughter's slim, but her immediate reaction was to go on a diet. And so I hope that she remembers that for the rest of her life. So
I just want to let you know that is a brilliant idea, and it's definitely going to be one that we're going to be having you share in a separate thing when we also get back to the documentary, which is another thing later on. Because when we talk about going beyond the scale, that technique is probably one of the most powerful techniques that I used to think was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. Because being somebody that was 400 pounds plus, there was nothing worse than going to the big and tall men's shop. My wife we'd go there. I hated men that are, what did you call it? I was fat. I was overweight. I was obese, whatever you call it. Somebody calls it fluffy. Whatever it was for me, I did not feel comfortable. I hated going there. And the worst thing in the world was putting on clothes. When I lost weight on Biggest Loser and we went home and we got ready for the finale and I went in Banana Republic and I was in J. Crew and I was all these places and I was like, I felt like I could go shop where others shopped and I could put on clothes and feel good about that. I could understand. And I had some people that said, I don't have a scale. I never got on the scale. And I said, well, how do you find out if you're gaining weight? What you just said. I put on my clothes, and if they're tight, I know, oh, I need to pay attention to that. I thought it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard in my life. I thought that is ridiculous. You have to have a scale, like, because I was in that scale mentality. What you
Mm-hmm.
said for your daughter is so powerful. And the closest thing that I can think of is I have a thing that's called my second skin. It's what I have from Finale, from Biggest Loser, when had lost 181 pounds. I wore this thing. I'm standing. There's a great picture of me standing in front of a sequoia tree, and I still wear this. And there are times when it's tight and the zipper's like, ah, but what happens is, because there's no give to this thing, but mentally, it has been so helpful to have this. So what you shared with your daughter, if nobody hears another thing today from what we've talked about, that is such a powerful thing, because it's actually more of a sane way for a person to get related to, because if you're wearing stretchy things and all that other stuff and all, we totally lose it. So I'm so glad you shared that. That's amazing. That's a great story. Love that.
Well, yeah, and it's just, yeah, I mean, we get obsessed with the scale. I still am. I still work on that. I mean, you know, and so, I mean, I can tell by my clothes, but, you know, even cotton pants and things, they are stretchy, you know, like everything's stretchy. I need one pair of jeans that doesn't stretch, and that's what we need to do. So yeah, so good.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So if we're done with your story at the moment, and like I said, there's a lot more to your story, and we'll get to that in a minute. But so you keep talking about here. What is your here, and who are you at here?
Yeah, so I am at Movara right now, and in the beautiful town of, well, Ivins, Utah, which is a little suburb of St. George, Utah, beautiful part of the world. And I arrived at Movara the first time as a guest in 2013, and then left in 2014. And I came back twice a year for 2 weeks at a time, just to stay sort of focused, and sort of my health and wellness goals were still sort of paramount to try and not gain that weight back. And that was one of the things I was able to do, was just kind of come back a couple times a year for 2 weeks at a time. And I did that, and developed a relationship with the owners, Cameron and Michelle Kelsch, and they are the founders of Movara. And we just stayed connected. My background is in hospitality, hotel management, business consulting. I was an executive coach for a number of years, and life coach, but all sort of in the hospitality industry. And so we stayed connected. And over the years, they said, if you'd ever, like to work here, we'd love to have you come and run the show. And my kids were still in high school at the time, and the timing wasn't right. And we just kept having the conversation. And 3 or 4 years ago, they asked me again, and again, the timing wasn't right. I'm also Canadian, and from Calgary. And so it was a big move to come here. So it'll be, oh gosh, it's 2 years right now. They contacted me again and said, hey, we would love you to come and run the show and be our general manager. And we know you understand this program. We know you understand what needs to happen here in order for our guests to be successful. And then with your background in hotel management, anyway, it's the right fit. So so I sort of pulled up stakes and came here, and I've been here for 2 years, and took some paperwork and things as a Canadian to get the governments to be happy about that. And so got all of that organized, and so I'm the general manager, and it's an incredible opportunity to see people's lives changed, and to see people saving their lives every single week, and have the experience that I had. Now, nobody's ever stayed as long as I have, but people come for a week or two, and then they go home, and they're able to work on their goals that they want to achieve at home. And there's so much to learn here. And that's one of the reasons I think that provided a successful path for me is we have a strong education series here where guests learn about how to change their lifestyle long term. And we have 11 lectures a week that they sit in on as part of the program. And that's critical. It's changing here, because we can spend all day working out or in the gym or in the pool. We can eat perfectly, but we need to change, because we need to go home and we need to live life. And so we have to change. We have to change what's the root of the problem. So.
One of the things that when I was with Dr. Huizenga, he had mentioned he had a place that he had built, and he was doing his own thing out there in California after Biggest Loser, and then it got destroyed in the Woolsey fire. So like a whole bunch of stuff. So he didn't rebuild that. But and Gloria and I still have to edit the podcast from that time a few weeks ago. But he had mentioned very much what you guys are doing there. He said, look, we can do all kinds of stuff, but he said, you really got to get a team of people. You got to be able to be in a place, in an environment. You need people to have some chance to kind of understand how to live life in a way that they can really enjoy and become, much more in a well-being environment. It's not a reality show. I mean, what I know you guys are doing there is much more on a very powerful way for people to transform themselves. So I think that what's great is the work that you're doing is changing lives, and hopefully through your examples and what you're doing, there'll be more of you guys continue to be able to expand that as well as other, I mean, you can't do it everywhere, but other places. And I think that a lot of the people that I've been talking to, I've become so intrigued that even though COVID has caused a lot of issues, I think finally for the first time, everyone is getting to realize that the entire way that we're living our life can work or not work. And it's not just eating or moving or exercise, whatever. It's really like what you were describing, what's the life that you're living? What's the environment, emotional, mental, like all this stuff that we didn't really ever talk about. Like, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to talk about it and find out there's more people that are doing it. So it sounds like what you guys are doing with your programs, you're touching all those points, checking off all those boxes, besides just people beating themselves up and eating less and all that stuff that in the old days was how we thought we'd changed it. But it's not the prescription, So, with that being said, part one is you sharing your story. Part two is I want to come back to you at the resort with some people that you have that are some people you think are great, like yourself, in a different way. Everybody has a different story, where we can ask them some questions and they can, be able to share some things. Maybe we can actually have the camera move around a little bit so people can see some things. So that'll be part two. We'll do that in a few weeks. But I want to be able to close on, I'm very intrigued. I'm so excited you're doing what you're doing because I love your story. I think it's more people that hear about it and learn about it. You're going to, have more and more people that are going to be inspired and they're going to find their own particular pathway. So you are halfway through a book. I'm so intrigued with your working title. So working title typically means, and I know what that means, like it's a placeholder, but it's a cool working title. So what can you share, Elaine, about what you're doing with this book that you're working on?
Yeah, well, as a result of my time at Movara, when you're in optimal health, so not just physical health, optimal emotional health, mental health, which is what happened. When you spend every day working on yourself, it heals a lot of things. And I was just in the space where I felt like I could accomplish anything and do anything. And I took up running while I was here, and it was sort of an inadvertent reason. So there was a guest here at the time, a gentleman from Texas, David, and I had been here maybe 3 or 4 months at that time. And he came to me and he said, hey, I'm getting a group of guests together. Let's go run the Snow Canyon Half Marathon. And I said, hey, dude, I've never run in my life. And I'm only hiking. I'm hiking every day with the resort. And I said, but I've never run. I said, maybe, when is it? Let me know. And, give me some time to train. And this was a Sunday. And he said, it's Saturday, next Saturday.
No.
So Dave, yeah, there's no way. There's no way I can do that. And he's like, come on, you can do it. You can just walk the whole thing. Come on, you can do it. And so I thought, I don't, no, just, no. So he was very persistent. Tuesday, he comes to me and said, okay, deadline for registration is today. And I said, David, he said, just come walk it. I'm like, fine. So fine. I said, okay. So we go to the start line Saturday. I thought, I'm just going to walk it. We get to the start line. Of course, what happens? The gun goes off and everybody starts running, and I have no business even being with these people. I was still probably, oh yeah, at least 50 pounds overweight, and no
Mm-hmm.
business being this group of people. But I started jogging because that's what you do. And I didn't like it and it was hurting. And I thought, okay, I am going to jog until I don't feel like I can anymore. And then I'll start walking. Well, don't, you know what? I jogged the entire thing. I didn't stop the entire way. And
Wow.
so I ran all 13.1 miles of this race, and even beat David actually, and give him a
Oh,
hard time with it. So which was funny. And
wow.
I wasn't fast, but he was a big guy too, and he was working on his health. So after that, I thought, okay, that was the hardest thing I've done my entire life. I'm never going to do that ever again. And then like a month later, there was a 10K in the area, and I thought, oh, okay, well maybe I've done a half marathon. I can do a 10K. So then I did a 10K, and then I thought, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And then a month later, there was a 5K in the area, and so then I did a 5K. So then after that experience, I thought, okay, I'm in this great shape. Maybe I'll train for a marathon, but I really don't want to. But it's the only distance I haven't done, and what am I going to do? So I thought, well, maybe if I find a marathon in an interesting part of the world, that will motivate me to train, because I really didn't want to do the training for it. So I went online and looked at all these marathons all over the world, and I came across something called the Seven Continents Club, and it's an organization out of Boston. And in order
Hmm.
to be included in this sort of exclusive club, there wasn't very many people that had participated in it at the time. You had to have run either a half marathon or a full marathon on all seven continents.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, that's amazing. A million people have run marathons. This is way more interesting. And still had some money from my house, and it also meant I didn't have to run a marathon. I could run a half on every continent, because you couldn't mix the distances. You had to either run fulls or
Oh,
in order to be part of this group. So I that was actually one of the catalysts for, okay, I think my time at Movara is done, and I had reached my 100-pound goal. So 3 weeks later, I got on a plane and flew to Beijing, China, and ran the fifth hardest half marathon in the world, which was on the Great Wall, right on the wall. You run on the wall, and ran that marathon. And then subsequently, over the next 10 months, I ran a marathon on all seven continents, including Antarctica. And so it put me in a pretty exclusive group at the time. I think I was less than 160 women who had ever done it in history.
oh my
And
God.
yeah, so I was able to do that, and I got on the news, and Women's Running Magazine did an article, and I just suddenly was like, what is happening? And it was just so amazing to experience as a result of the work that I had put in. And that's what happens when you put in that kind of effort in looking after you. And then during that time, I also climbed Kilimanjaro, which ended up being during the worst snowstorm they'd had in 18 years, and summited, and went over to Spain and backpacked the Camino de Santiago
Oh, wow.
by myself, and did that in the middle of all of that. And so I was doing about 30 kilometers a day on the Camino. And so when you're feeling healthy and strong, you just it just changes everything. And I even ran for a beauty contest, a beauty pageant in my local city, and I didn't win, but I'm pretty sure it was fixed. So no. So I mean, I was just in this mode of, I'm going to do anything. I can try anything, and that's what happens when you're feeling strong and healthy. And yeah, so kind of back to my book. It's an interesting story. There's a lot more to it. This is sort of about 1% of it, and sort of what led me to the experiences that led me to sort of pull up stakes and sell my house and quit my job to come to Movara in the first place, and the experiences that I had running those races and climbing Kilimanjaro. And it's actually I'm extremely pleased with the story. It's coming along really well. I have a ghostwriter that's helping me, and it's a wonderful story about. It's about a mother's love. My children are involved in it, and some of the things that they went through. And it's about really going after your dreams, and it's about not being stuck. It's about closing that gap. It's about who you are and who you know yourself to be, and your values, and living that sort of authentic self, and being in alignment with who you are, and and not living that way and reaching that, and about resiliency and making that move, getting unstuck. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Well, first of all, I will be, when we're done, I will be pre-ordering the book, because I have a lot of womanly instincts. I'm very male, but I have womanly instincts. And I don't know why, but I had that idea. I'm like, I don't think I can really introduce you. I'd rather have it be revealed. Well, you and I had a lot of conversations. We did not have this conversation. I
Did
had
we not? I thought we knew this.
no, this is not a conversation that you would have, that even I have a senior brain a little bit, but even I would have remembered. I know you mentioned Mount Kilimanjaro. I got that. But this other whole thing about the continents and everything else you're doing, we didn't have that conversation. So I'm glad I didn't introduce you, because it wouldn't have done any good. And now what happens is I'm going to tell people, okay, so you need to hear Elaine's story. And as they tell you, you got to wait to the end, because she's going to reveal something that, that's kick-ass. That's amazing. That's an incredible story. And what I love about it is that is so going beyond the scale, because not to say I've done a lot of things that I'm proud of now that I had gone through a wellness transformation. I've not run 7 continents and all that stuff. But what I will tell you, you've had a different experience than I've had, but it's the one part that is the same. If people could only understand the reason why Biggest Loser, actually, if you look at the show, forget what you like and you think it's whatever, what it shows, and you do this all the time with people, what it shows is that people, against all odds, that you would look and say, there's no way in hell this person could do whatever. Actually, when they're given a chance or given support, and they have an environment that gives them a chance to transform themselves, it's crazy what people can do. Your story of what you did, where you were, and all those things that happened, and the depression and the challenges, the mom stuff and all that, and then you did what you did, and then you're general manager there, and you're helping people, and then you're doing everything else. That's why you want to get well. It's what I call create the life that you love and live it well. You are literally like the poster woman for that. Your story is, it's amazing. And I'm not blowing smoke, because I didn't have this conversation. I'm the reason I'm excited. That's an amazing story. And I hope people get that, because there's no fun in losing weight. It's really not fun. And then we also agreed exercise, it's not really fun unless it's fun exercise. But what you're doing and how you're living, and then sharing that with others, I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. And I cannot wait to read the book and learn more about it, because that's I had Elaine, I did not know Mount Kilimanjaro is a big deal. That's cool. That's great. I want to do that too. But everything else, that's amazing. Very cool.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's going to be a good story. I'm really proud of it. Actually, it's yeah, I'm proud of the writing, and yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a good story. So we've just barely scratched the surface of what's in it. So it'll be good.
Yeah, that's fine. And in another conversation, I know some people that would love to learn more about what you're up to. So yeah, keep writing it. Do your ghostwriting. Do everything you got to do. Get it out there. I'm going to pre-order the book. I can't wait to learn more. Selfishly, I think I'm going to have to sneak out to southern Utah, and you and I need to be up in the mountains, and I need to be able to interview you somewhere in a great location, because selfishly, I'd love to do that. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
You got to come.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I will be out there. I don't know when yet, but you got me now. I definitely got to come out there and do that. Okay, so thank you for this. As I said in opening this up, this is part 1. I'm so glad you shared this, and I know it's still the tip of the iceberg of what you're up to, so we'll learn more in the book as well. You and I figured out with our schedules. I'm really looking forward to being able to have you expand upon what you're doing by sharing some of the stories of other people that are with you at the resort. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people to do it. Gloria, do we have it? We want to make sure we put their website on here. I mean, it's not like they don't know it. We'll put it in show notes as well. But for people that want to go out and see you guys. And so with COVID and everything, I mean, are you guys super booked now, or you have a lot of openings, or just in general, what's trending now with you with after COVID?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we are slammed, which is
good.
Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, we are 21 weeks in a row now, sold out completely. So
wow.
Yeah, so we're just 20 weeks historically, and sort of we've got some rooms available at the end of July and through August. It is it's so wonderful that people are taking their health seriously in terms of a positive byproduct of COVID, that people are, the comorbidities that affected people so negatively, one of them being obesity. It has really, really, woken a lot of people up to, hey, I need to look after my health because it's critical. And something like this doesn't need to be as big of a worry for me if I'm in optimal health. And so, so it's really wonderful to see. And I mean, we were busy anyway, but and people are wanting to get out and get moving again and travel again. And it's a beautiful part of the world. And it's an amazing program for the community that's here, the other guests that they get to meet here and spend time with, and lifelong friendships are made, and just this beautiful part of the world, and the hiking in the red rocks and the beautiful weather and the blue sky, and our program where we hold people accountable, and everything's done for our guests. I mean, all of our healthy, nutrient-dense meals are provided for them, accommodation. You just come and you just get to work on you. So, it's an incredible place. And like I said, it's wonderful to see people that come in on a Sunday. It's a 1-week program, so they come in on a Sunday and leave on a Sunday. It's a minimum a week, but people stay for multiple weeks, like I did. But to see them come in on a Sunday and have their head down and feeling badly about themselves and not in alignment again with sort of who they are and other aspects of their lives. And then to see them leave with their heads held high again, feeling confident again and themselves again.
Yeah.
I work in the best place in the world. So
that's great. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Elaine, thank you so much for your generosity of time and sharing this. And as you know, there's somebody out there that's going to hear this and they're going to thank you and they're going to say something. And then there's a bunch of people that you'll probably never hear from, and you've changed their life, and you might hear from them later on. And I think that's a great thing about when you get a chance to share something that you've been doing and it becomes a catalyst for somebody else. So keep doing what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to, in a few weeks, we'll get back together and we'll continue the story. And as I mentioned you guys before, and Gloria, if you put up one more time, look, pre-order the book. I mean, that's a really cool thing. I think it's a really great story. Share it with other people. It might be a catalyst. That's the other thing I found a lot of times. If you read something that's amazing and you think it's really wonderful, like buy an extra book and give it to somebody else, because sometimes that's the thing. I don't know what it is, but look, if there's ever a thing you could do, if you can give somebody some sense of hope that they can do something for themselves, and stories like yours are a great example of, like, against all odds, it can be done. But you got to show up. You got to take that first step. And your story is definitely that kind of a story. So thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
And one thing, TJ, if anybody wants to come to Movara as a result of watching the podcast today or listening to it, use the code Elaine, and then I'll throw them in a $50 card to our spa, and they can get a massage while they're here or something like that. So if you want to throw that up as well, Gloria, and then
wonderful.
And then we'll do something for them for having watched. So
we'll do that, and we'll put it in the show notes as well. And we also we'll have this come out at different times as well. So we'll make sure people know about it. So thank you again, Elaine, and we'll see you in a few weeks. Okay. Thanks everybody for being here.